in the American podcast system, dumb questions are considered especially stupid. In Lincoln, Nebraska, one super cool, super handsome, with a great head of hair man dares to ask them, "This is my show. This is his show, not mine. I'm not Drew." Question, episode 1. I'm Drew Haverman, and I really appreciate you for listening and watching. I don't even really know how this is supposed to start, so let's kind of just talk. The whole point of this podcast is to ask stuff. That kind of sounds dumb, but maybe it isn't. So that's what we're going to do together. We're going to learn about stuff my way. By asking dumb questions. And today, I have something I know nothing about, honestly. And I don't know if that's through privilege, through luck. Let's walk through or just whatever it is. But we're going to learn about one of the scariest places on earth. Court. Now, is court like TV? Are the lawyers all attractive? Is justice sweet? Who's really in charge? That's what we're going to find out. Crime happens. Detective Benson and Stabler get there. They solve the case. Stabler punches somebody. Benson cries. Suddenly we're in court. One of the ADAs has a big speech. There's a confession. Gavel slams. Directed by Dick Wolf. Dang. Alright, but real court moves slow. Real court moves at the speed of bureaucracy. And if you've ever had to do anything in a government building or do anything at the DMV, especially if you brought your papers that you filled out at home, thinking that being it done at home was going to make it go any faster, or making an appointment thinking that was going to make it go faster, sorry. You know what I mean. You know how slow it can take. You know that more than likely you're going to be in line for a long time. And in this case, with court, what is line? Sometimes being in line is jail, sometimes probation, house arrest, all that kind of fun stuff. Now, how long are you going to wait in that line, though? Let's find out. Here's how it usually works, and these are all averages, all right? So don't just think that, oh, hey, Drew said if I do a felony, I'm going to get it resolved in this many days. It could take longer, it could take shorter. It is all on you. Felony cases. How long do you think that takes? All right. 256 days. Now, misdemeanors. How much do you think that can? Way shorter, right? They're misdemeanors. They're not felonies. They're misdemeanors, right? They can't be more than 100 days, right? 193 days. That's almost 200. That's almost 200 days, right? All right. And now serious crimes, complex crimes, trap in, that's 1 to 3 years. And for those ones, you're usually sitting somewhere and not at home. So now there are 6 things that can kind of get in the way of justice, or at least slow it down. Let's get into them a little bit. We got pretrial motions, which are kind of like legal side quests, all right? Now, lawyers will file motions to suppress evidence, which means they want the jury not to see that evidence. They'll try to change the location of the trial because they think it's not fair where there's trials being held at. They will try to dismiss parts of the case because they don't think they're fair, or they don't think it's going to be fair to their client. Now, CSI, they make it look like they can just take your DNA and put it in the CD-ROM slot of a computer, and you got your evidence. You got everything you need right there. Gathering evidence, testing it, analyzing it, all that. And on top of that, making sure the evidence you've gathered was gathered legally and you can even share it. Months. Also, months. Third thing, court scheduling. Now, do you think there's a lot of judges? Do you think there's enough judges for everybody? There are only so many courtrooms, so many judges, so much staff. Sometimes a trial can get pushed back just because everybody's calendar is full. And if you know somebody busy in your life, the judge is busier. Judge is busier. Judge is busier. Plea negotiations. Now, this is the big one. Around 90% of criminal cases all end in plea deals. What do you think a plea deal does? One, for sure, it saves time. Helps the judge out a bit. Watch Law and Order. You see pleas all the time. He's going to take the plea, but I didn't even do it. You're taking the plea. It'd be better to take the plea than it would go to handle this in the jury. The jury's going to find you guilty. You need to take this plea right now. Number 5. Public defenders are some of the most underappreciated people on the face of this earth. They are superheroes with way too many assignments. Some public defenders have over 100 open cases at one time. Now, 100 cases that determine somebody's future. I could not imagine 100 of those. Number 6, the last one, and the one that honestly surprised me the most, COVID. COVID backlogs. Crime did not stop during that lockdown, but a lot of courtrooms did. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Drew, all you're doing is saying problems. What is this? I thought this was dumb questions, not just dumb problems. What are the solutions? Now, there are a few solutions they're working towards right now. Digital tools are becoming a very important part of law. Zoom court and electronic filings are speeding the process up a little bit. Extended court hours. Courts are looking to stay open later and open earlier now to try to get a few more cases in during the day. Okay. On TV, lawyers can look like GQ models. I know you've seen them on Suits. That's not what they always look like. In defendants, they always somehow look like they came straight from the tailor, like their suits always fit, it's Armani. And judges always look so spotless in their robes. Real court? Now, you know, if you've ever been to real court, you know that's people watching Central. Lawyers will always be wearing practical suits, some with coffee stains, some that don't fit. Defendants are always told to wear their church clothes. So you'll see more clothes that don't fit or clothes that haven't been worn in about a couple of years. In this next clip, Yohance Christie, the Lincoln City attorney, is going to answer why he wears what he wears. And I ask a few more dumb questions. Does that mean a suit and tie, a blazer, and like tie clip, and saying jewelry and stuff? Or are we going casual some days?
No jewelry. Very rarely, if ever, am I ever casual. Okay. So I'm usually going to work. If I'm leaving my house, I usually have a suit on, no tie.
Suit on, no tie.
Okay. So dress shirt, right, and a suit.
What would be a time you put the tie on?
So I get to work. One of the first things I'll do is put on a tie. I got lots of ties at work.
So you have your ties at your office,
yes.
Like in your desk, or just on like a coat rack, or like?
So I have a little. It's almost like a closet. So I can put. So I have a few jackets in there too. I keep at least one full suit in there. I have my other job too.
Really?
Yes, I had the same setup at my other job. So this is not a city attorney setup.
Is that common for like lawyers and attorneys to have?
I think most lawyers and attorneys have ties and suits at their office. They might not have their entire wardrobe. They certainly have some of their wardrobe at work. I think so.
Okay. Would you have any type of like specific ties for specific judge, specific? You know what I'm saying? Like, is there that much thought into that, or is it just?
No, I think that so I have lots of ties.
Yeah.
But I think inevitably we'll wear usually the same ties. Right?
Really?
The same ties that we like. But I do think that attorneys have like not ties that they wear for certain things, but they might have suits that they wear for certain.
Would it be like this suit is a higher quality suit?
Yes.
Like this is a Armani or whatever.
Yes, 100%.
And certain judges will look upon that as like.
And so it's not even necessarily the judge. Actually, it's just more of what I have to do today. So I think it's no matter what the judge is, if you're going to have a jury trial, you might dress differently.
Sure.
And or if you're going to have a trial, even if it's just a bench trial, that's what we call a trial just in front of a judge, might dress differently. I did oral arguments at the Supreme Court, Nebraska, right? It's just the other day. I've done it before, but just the other day. And so that's a different suit, that's that's not the regular suit, right? So things like that.
So on those kind of days where it's that Supreme Court day, like, are you feeling, is that a pressure day for you? Or is that just another day for you?
So, I mean,
you're an athlete, you know what I mean? Like,
right, it's game day.
Yeah, it's
game day. Yeah. If you look good, you play good.
Yeah.
And that comes from, when I played college football. Yeah. Division II, we used to say that, you got the flair, you look good, you play good. Right, that's how it goes. Right.
Let's break down the difference between a bench trial and a jury trial. It's kind of like Netflix and Hulu. Same category, much different vibe. Now a bench trial. No jury, just you and the judge. The judge decides everything. The law and the facts. Now you're saying, what's the benefit? Quicker, way less formal, and is often usually just chosen kind of in technical or complex cases. Now, the one that's kind of more popular, the jury trial. 6 to 12 regular people from the community. They decide what happens. They decide what the facts are. That usually takes way more time. You've got a few steps ahead of it. You've got a whole jury selection. You got jury instructions. You got deliberation and all the potential for drama. Now, why would you pick one over the other? Why would you pick a bench trial? Why would you pick a jury trial? Let me explain. Bench trials are like playing a video game solo. Just you, the controller, and a clear mission. You kind of can move at your own pace. You make all the decisions. You get a clean result. Jury trials? That's multiplayer, baby. Everyone's got a controller. Someone's lagging. Someone's yelling. One person skipped the tutorial. But sometimes the team sees something you would have missed alone. I'm going to break down 2 specific cases kind of briefly here real quick, and then we're going to move on. Criminal cases, those are the government accusing someone of breaking the law. The stakes in those, jail, or fines, or probation. A civil case, that's when a person or a company sues another for damages. Stakes, money, not freedom. All right, but here's the twist. The same situation can lead to both. Do you remember OJ? Criminal trial, not guilty. Civil trial, liable for damages. What made you want to go into public defending right out of law school, then, as opposed to, do you have a choice to do that versus going into private practice? Do you have like the opportunity just to pick up a law firm like that, private practice? Do they headhunt you, or is it like you chose public defending out of your heart? Like, how does that roll? So
yeah. So I wouldn't, unless you were like top of your class. Mm-hmm. I don't know that you can pick anywhere that you want to go.
Yeah.
Even if you're top of your class, there might, be places you can't go for whatever reason. But usually, if you are top of your class or close to it, you have options of all different law firms.
Like recruiting almost in sports. Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's right. But you can still, choose to do something else, or I don't want to go to this law firm, or I don't want to, go to that law firm. But I wanted to do criminal defense, and I wanted to get courtroom experience. So that was on purpose. And I wanted to work at the public defender's office because at the time, everything that I knew, I believed it was a great office. And there were lots of good attorneys there, and I actually was a law clerk there during law school. And I was very interested in the criminal justice system.
Yeah.
I felt like I had seen it be unfair and brutal to a lot of people I grew up with. And I felt like people that looked like me were certainly overrepresented. And so I wanted to learn about it. And I felt like that was the best way to truly learn about it.
Was get right in.
Yeah, like, no, I'm gonna go be on the front lines of this system and learn about it.
It's almost like the athlete in you too, to go, I want to get right into the courtroom, I want to get right on the field, I want to get right into practice. Like, I'm not going to sit here and waste time. Let's do it. I mean, learn on the field. That's right. That's pretty cool. Bringing it back to sports. Sorry.
Right.
That's where my brain always goes. But
that's right.
It's cool to know for anybody who does want to get into law, though, like, that mentality of getting into it and learning as you go is still there. Like, it's not a thing where let's just sit back and relax. You need to be in there. You're not.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've talked to lots of high school students, college students, whatever, and athletes. A lot of athletes, and I explained to them, look, when I played sports, I was, you're dedicating 3 hours a day, at least, maybe more. You got practice, you got film, you dedicated to sports. So in a lot of ways, going to law school was an easy transition. Yeah. Because I was used to dedicating at least 3 hours of every day of my life to football. And so it was an easy transition for me to, okay, so now this schedule that I'm used to, I'm going to dedicate it to the law.
Let's do a quick roll call of some of these courtroom characters. It's kind of like the Avengers, but everyone's wearing a suit and holding folders. So not really the Avengers at all. My bad. Big question here. What is the difference between a lawyer and an attorney? Lawyer is someone trained in law. That could be a law student. That could be an attorney. That could be just about anybody. Now, an attorney, though, is someone who's licensed to practice law. Now, all attorneys are lawyers, but not all lawyers are attorneys. One passed the bar and one passes the vibe. Now, the judge, he runs the courtroom. He rules on law and sometimes on facts. He keeps things on track, or at least tries to. A TV example of a judge would be something like Judge Judy, right? Kind of real, kind of ridiculous. The prosecutor, what does he do? Or she do? Or they do? They bring the charges on behalf of the government. They try to prove that you broke the law. The defense attorney, they're representing you. They're representing the person who's being accused, if that's you, I guess. They protect rights and they challenge the prosecution's evidence. TV examples would be Saul Goodman, Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, chaotic but effective. The public defenders, that's the same job, but they're court appointed. They're usually court appointed for those who can't afford a lawyer. The thing about public defenders, often overworked, most likely underfunded, but one of the most essential jobs in law. Now, other positions. The clerk. They manage the files, the exhibits, and the court schedule. So, as you can see, they probably have one of the most important jobs, but least talked about jobs. They're usually rarely seen on TV, but nothing runs without them. Court reporter. They report every single word that was said. No pressure at all. Say I object.
Oh, I say I object.
And they say sustained or whatever?
Yes. So objection, sustained, overruled, that's real.
Do you yell I object the way they do on I object? Or is it, would you get thrown out if you did it like that?
I don't know that you would get thrown out, but you definitely have to object and be forceful.
Okay.
And make sure that everyone hears you and make sure that you stop the proceedings, because if you don't object in a way that everyone knows what you're saying,
it doesn't just stop it.
Well, a witness, if it's a jury trial, or if you have a witness on the stand and you got to make sure you can't just say I object. You got to be like objection to get people's attention. Yeah. And I teach at the law school, by the way, and that's one of the things I'm an adjunct at the law school,
Okay.
and it's for trial advocacy, and so we actually have a one of the things we do is we talk about objections.
Okay.
So yeah. No,
So then, do you ever get embarrassed if your objection is, what's the word? What they say?
overruled? Overruled.
Is
If I object and the judge agrees with me, the judge will sustain it. If the judge disagrees with me, the judge will overrule it.
Is that when the teacher's like, you're wrong back in the day?
Yeah, something like that. Something like that.
I just got chills thinking about that. I would quit my job.
Right,
Like,
right.
You're right.
No, but you can't let that bother you.
Yeah.
You know, you can't let that bother you. You
Yeah.
got to keep going. And actually, you know, judges get overturned all the time. Cases will get appealed, and the higher court will say that was a wrong ruling in the lower court. You know, so it's not. It's all right.
I just feel like it feels like you're so stupid. Why would you even say that? But no.
Sure.
Let's break down some of these common objections using something that everyone can understand. A little Drew lingo. What does hearsay mean? He said, she said. Your Honor, leading the witness basically means, aren't you just telling the witness what to say? Can't do that. Objection, relevance. That's like saying, objection, this got to do with anything. Objection, speculation means, objection, you can't guess, Jimmy. Just the facts. Objections don't just interrupt, they protect the record. If there's an appeal, the objection will help show whether the trial was fair. And from the outside looking in, I feel like having the pressure of a case on you and talking to a jury, talking to the judge, talking to all that, and having somebody else's, like, I'm not talking for you, but somebody else's, case on your back would be pressure.
Yes, it is 100%. And that's, I agree with that. But I would just say that I was a public defender for over a decade. And so, like, you may start out, feeling that pressure and being nervous. And not that the pressure and nervousness goes away, but you learn how to manage that, and you learn how to, perfect your craft, and you start to lean in on certain things. Like, I'm going to go into court, I'm going to be an advocate, I'm going to be a voice for the voiceless, right? I'm going to speak for the downtrodden, right?
Batman.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. And it's like, justice, it's just us, and that's what, things like that. And so you go in there, and then you feel, you feel a certain level of responsibility, certain level of stress, but you also feel like, honored.
Yeah.
And
responsibility for the city.
Yeah. Well, I was talking about being a public defender. I was talking about being a public defender, right, for that person. Right. So even and so at the end of the day, no matter how it comes, if they see you truly fight and advocate for them and be the voice that they don't have, they're happy no matter what the outcome. And you learn that the longer you do it. So the city is different than that.
Okay.
It's different than that.
Okay.
But it's a lot of pressure, but it's a different type of pressure.
It's a higher level of pressure?
Maybe.
Higher level as in... I don't know.
Yeah. No, I said maybe. I didn't agree. I said maybe, right? I would say
it's
that.
Still important for somebody.
But you got to think about it, right? So I would say that, one of the things that I realized right away when I first came to the city and started working as the city attorney, it's just different, right? The pressures are different, and the things that are emergencies are different. I came from representing people that might go to prison for 20 years now. That's a different type of pressure.
Yeah.
That's and you got you got their families, you got their friends, you got their maybe their significant others, right? And it's happening now. Maybe they're incarcerated. That's different than some of the emergencies that are put on the city.
Yeah.
But at the same time, what you're doing for the city touches more people.
Yeah.
Right. It's the masses. So it's more of a macro level, whereas what I was doing before was more micro.
It's like the
one-on-one.
Planting the tree for somebody else that you don't know. You're doing as a city attorney, you're doing that. But then as the public defender, you're gardening for your house that's current.
That's right. And you're helping that individual.
Yeah.
Easy way to think of it, right? So the city of Lincoln is just big enough that in a lot of ways we're like a major corporation. And we have the mayor, right, who's like our CEO. And then we have the Lincoln City Council, which is like our board of directors.
Yeah.
It's not exactly like that, right? And then we have a lot of departments, and we, my office, we are legal counsel for everyone. And so it's like being general counsel for big corporations. So what that means is there are a lot of different issues that are happening day to day, but that doesn't always mean that we're in court handling cases. We're giving legal advice on any sort of issues on a day-to-day basis.
I think that's the part that people might not understand is it's not just the courtroom stuff, it's just legal advice for any type of thing you're doing. Is that probably more of your job than actual court, or is
yes,
court that is?
Not even close.
How much percentage-wise you say is just advice versus
70-80%? But we also, so the city attorney's office, I think of us as 3 divisions. So we have the civil division, which is what I'm talking about, which is the bulk of what we do. Now there's still civil litigation. We get sued, or if we're going to bring suit, that's on the civil side. But we have attorneys assigned to every department in the city. So that includes the police department, that includes the fire department, that includes Parks and Rec department, right? That includes urban development. I didn't even name all the departments. Health department, right? So
if we had an umbrella,
human resources department.
What's the top of that umbrella? You know what I'm saying? Like if we had a tree, what's the top of that tree?
So I mean, the easiest way to think about it, I think, is going back to what I said earlier. We have the mayor, who's the CEO. The mayor appoints city directors. We're a strong mayoral form of government. And then we have the city council. So like when I got my job as a director of a city department, city attorney's office, I am appointed by the mayor and approved by the city council. So some of the things one of the ways that I will explain it to other people at a very, very, very smaller level, it's like when the president's elected and appoints the attorney general, that has to be approved by, it's a very smaller level, but it's the same sort of concept. And so you think of the president's cabinet, I'm in the mayor's cabinet. Again, on a very smaller level. And we do meet weekly as a cabinet, all the city directors, city attorney, fire chief, police chief, planning director, building and safety, the director of building safety, the health department, right? On and on.
Yohance Christie isn't just a lawyer. He's an attorney. The city attorney. He's also a human being with insight, with jokes, with humor, and with a lot of patience. He put up with a lot of dumb questions and a lot of clips sent at random hours. And that's why I wanted to talk to him. He's the Lincoln City attorney, and his path to get there helped a lot of people. So, what did we learn? TV court close to real court?
It's all fake.
Yeah. I mean, you heard it from the city attorney. None of it's real. TV gives us drama. Real court gives us deadlines, delays, depositions. I don't even know what some of those words mean. Until next time, if you don't want to ask it, I will.